This friendship didn't end quietly. It unraveled in silence, shady interviews, deleted photos, and a fandom war that refuses to die. What really happened between Shelly and Orlando? And did Ace ruin more than just a relationship? Because from the outside, everything looked perfect. But behind closed doors, fans believe there was betrayal, jealousy, and a carefully crafted narrative gone completely off script. And once the podcast aired, the truth, or at least the mess, started spilling. They walked out of the villa as friends. Some even called them inseparable. Shelly and Orlando, better known by fans as Chelando, had the kind of connection that felt real, even when the cameras weren't rolling. But somewhere between the photo ops and brand deals, that bond completely fell apart. No explanation. No statement. Just cold silence, and fans were left piecing together the wreckage. At first, it seemed like maybe life just pulled them in different directions. But it didn't take long before the whispers started. Tiny clues. Petty unfollows. One-sided Instagram stories. The tension grew louder the quieter they got. Then came the podcast. And suddenly, it wasn't just silence. It was betrayal, wrapped in a smirk, broadcast to thousands. Fans didn't just notice the tension, they ran with it. Theories started flooding Twitter. Was Ace behind it all? Did Shelly switch up? Was Orlando just collateral damage in someone else's PR game? Whatever really happened, it turned a broken friendship into a full-blown spectacle. It started with a look. Just a pause. A small moment during Ace's interview that would spiral into one of the internet's dirtiest fan-led investigations. They asked Ace a straightforward question about Nick and Olandra's relationship. His answer? Awkward. His body language? Tense. And then came the look. One of those expressions that says more than words ever could. It wasn't just side-eye. It was shade-stamped, delivery confirmed. The moment instantly went viral. Clips flooded social media like wildfire. Fans replayed the footage, zoomed in on facial expressions, analyzed every breath. The conclusion. Ace wasn't buying Nick and Olandra's relationship, and more than that, he didn't respect it. But what fueled the drama even more was Shelly's complete silence. She never released a statement, never corrected the narrative, never stood by Olandria, the same friend she laughed with in the villa, posed with in photos, and appeared inseparable from on camera. To fans, that silence wasn't neutral. It was betrayal. You can't be friends with someone and let your man publicly shade them, one fan tweeted. Another said, her silence made her complicit. She let Ace drag Nick and Ola with no follow-up, and never showed she stood with them. Suddenly, it wasn't just Ace getting heat. Shelly was getting accused of enabling it. And just like that, two friendships shattered in one interview. But the internet wasn't done digging. Because some people believed. The signs were already there. Hours after the podcast dropped, fans were upset. But others weren't surprised. They were vindicated. Because according to them, Shelly had been moving, strange, for a while. One moment in particular stuck out. Her after-sun interview, right after leaving the villa. When asked who she wanted to see win, Shelly looked straight at the camera and said Amaya and Brian. Not Olandria. Not Nick. Not the couple she was supposed to be closest to. The timing? Suspicious. The message? Loud and clear. Fans went into full flashback mode, digging up interview clips and red carpet snippets. Why didn't Shell cheer for Nick and Ola? Why didn't she support her own friends publicly? If roles were reversed, would Olandria have done the same? You can't fake loyalty, one user wrote. Nick and Ola never switched up on Shelly, but when it was her turn to ride for them, she folded. Another fan put it bluntly, she chose vibes over loyalty. To many, the podcast wasn't the cause of the fallout. It was the confirmation of what people already felt. The final push that exposed a friendship already hanging by a thread. And just like that, the dynamic shifted, from speculation to full-blown narrative. Shelly hadn't just been silent. She'd been calculated, fans said. And Ace. He was just the megaphone that put it all on blast. As more clips surfaced and silence stretched on, a new theory took hold, one that hit different. Maybe this friendship was never equal to begin with. The conversations started small. A few fans noting how Ola always showed up for Shelly, supporting her publicly, defending her when needed. But when the tables turned, Shelly said nothing. Then came the tweets. I thought people were reaching when they said the friendship felt one-sided. Now, I'm convinced, one person posted. Even worse, some believed Shelly knew exactly what Ace was going to say on that podcast, and let it happen anyway. The subtle looks. The passive-aggressive answers. All of it felt too intentional. She looked way too comfortable sitting there while her man threw her friend under the bus, someone wrote. No way she didn't know. And remember, this wasn't just about silence. It was about patterned behavior. Choosing not to defend Ola publicly after every hint of shade. Not clarifying her stance. Not even reposting things to show public support when Ola was facing harsh backlash from the fandom. To loyal fans of Olandria, Shelly's silence wasn't an oversight. It was proof. Proof that Ola had been backing someone who'd never truly had her back. But where was Ace in all this? Shelly was catching heat. Ola was defending herself. And Ace, the one who sparked the fire? He was nowhere to be found. At first, it looked like nothing more than a couple doing what all Love Island alums do, branding themselves. Ace and Shelly were posting cute couple pics, sharing subtle captions, building their post-show image. But one caption lit a firestorm online. Black Love. That's what they called themselves. A power duo. A new Serena and Codell, according to the fans. But it wasn't inspiring everyone. For some, it felt like a subtweet in disguise. Because at that same time, Olandria and Nick, aka Nicola, were being dragged on social media simply for being an interracial couple. Ola, in particular, was getting hate for not being in a black love pairing despite her own black identity. So when Ace and Shelly started pushing the black love narrative, people weren't buying the positivity. They saw shade, and plenty of it. They knew what they were doing, one fan said. Why promote black love so hard right when Ola was getting hate for not fitting that mold? It felt like a highlight reel designed to exclude, not inspire. And for many, it confirmed what had already been building. Ace and Shell weren't trying to build community. They were trying to run up numbers. Even if that meant leaning into a message that weaponized identity to paint a prettier picture. Even if it meant pushing people like Ola to the side. One user went straight for the jugular. You can't fake genuine love. And you definitely can't cover up messy dynamics with hashtags. At this point, the story wasn't even about the friendships or the relationships anymore. It was about public perception, and who was playing the PR game better. But as the relationship continued, it became clear that even black love couldn't cover the cracks forming right beneath the surface. It wasn't just the podcast. It wasn't just the captions. It was the pattern, and by now, fans had receipts. When Shelly told Taylor to eat the wing, instead of answering a shady question on an interview segment, protecting him from public backlash, it was seen as quick thinking. Loyalty. Friendship. But that same energy, Ola never got it. Not when her relationship was called fake. Not when trolls dragged her online. Not even when the fanbase accused her of clout chasing because of who she was dating. To many, that silence spoke louder than words. If she could protect Taylor like that on live TV, one viewer tweeted, what stopped her from doing the same for Ola during the podcast? Why didn't she stop Ace? Or at least say something after? It wasn't about strangers expecting Shelly to play PR. It was about expecting a friend to show up. Instead, fans were left with images of Shell smiling through interviews while Ola's name trended for all the wrong reasons. And while Ace threw casual shade on lives and interviews, Shelly never clarified or corrected. It was always quiet on her end. And yet, for Taylor? For Amaya? Shell had shown public loyalty, quick defense, and protective energy again and again. That inconsistency had fans asking the one question no one wanted aired out. Was Ola ever really her friend? Or was it just proximity? If Shelly's silence was deafening, Ace's voice was louder than ever. But not in the way anyone expected. After leaving the villa, most couples were reconnecting with fans, riding the PR wave, and keeping their momentum alive. Meanwhile, Ace went ghost. Rumors spread that he was rebranding, taking a break, refocusing. But when he did come back, it wasn't to clear anything up. It was to make it worse. Ace appeared on multiple podcasts, posted cryptic captions, and made joke-filled live videos. In one especially viral moment, he compared his relationship with Chelley to a package that didn't match the photo. Fans clocked the shade immediately. What I ordered versus what I got. That's the energy he gave. And it was a wrap. Built-in fan support for their black love image evaporated almost overnight. The same man who once gifted her luxury bags and posted love-drenched captions was now throwing jabs. Public ones. And never once did he protect Chelley when things started turning against her. She was being dragged by fans. Accused of betrayal. Questioned for her silence. And Ace. He was either laughing it off, ignoring it, or throwing fuel on the fire. Instead of backing her publicly like a true partner, he started aligning more with people like Taylor, tagging him in shade posts, hinting that they were the real power duo. One fan said it best. Ace didn't just leave her out to dry, he lit the match and watched her burn. Despite knowing how much Shell was being attacked online, he chose silence for her, the same way she had chosen silence for him. But here's the twist. She paid the price for both their actions. While Ace moved on, rebranded, and deleted every trace of their relationship from his Instagram, Chelley was still in the eye of the storm. And when she finally erased him from her page, that was the confirmation people had been waiting for. At first, it was subtle. No captions. No joint posts. No sightings. Ace and Chelley started showing up less, both online and in real life. But fans have sharp eyes, and social media leaves a trail. The first major sign? Ace, who once made Chelley the star of his feed, deleted every trace of her during what he called a page reconstruction. But Chelley held on, for a while. Until she didn't. Because after everything, the podcast, the silence, the shade, it was one careless moment that finally flipped the switch. Ace went on a live stream, talking in detail about an alleged interaction with singer Jhené Aiko. His excitement was next level. Giddy like he just met his lifelong crush. He went on and on, calling himself handsome, talking about her complimenting him, laughing like a schoolboy. On the surface, it was harmless. But fans knew the context. Chelley is a known fan of Jhené Aiko. Idol tier. Her music was in Shell's playlists, her captions, her mood boards. So when Ace acted starstruck over the same woman, while still publicly tied to Shell, it didn't land as funny. It landed as disrespectful. The next day, every single photo of Ace vanished from Chelley's Instagram. No explanations. No statements. Just gone. Wiped clean like he was never there. All that remained were polished solo shots, brand campaigns, soft glam, and filtered smiles, with no trace of the man she once called her partner. And just like that, the final thread was cut. What fans had only speculated for months was now confirmed through action. The relationship was over. Quietly. Finally. Officially. The real plot twist? Ace had already moved on, digitally at least. He'd deleted her long before. But now that Shell finally mirrored that energy, fans took it as the closing chapter. Some cheered. Some mourned. Others pointed back to the very beginning and said, this was always going to end like this. At first, Chelley's fans were her biggest defenders. They stood by her through the silence, through the Ace drama, through every episode of online backlash she didn't respond to. But it only took one fan tweet to flip the entire narrative. And it came from her own corner. Way back when things still looked good between her and Ace, A Shelly fan posted a tweet bragging about their relationship. Mind you, he bought her a Birkin the minute she left the villa, they wrote while throwing direct shade at Nick for not doing the same for Olandria. It was petty. It was pointed. But it hit hard and went viral, adding fuel to the Team Shell plus Ace firepower. Fast forward to the breakup. Suddenly, that same fan changed their tune. When asked whatever happened to that Birkin bag, they replied with a bombshell. Those were rented, baby. Just like that, the fandom flipped. Now people were dragging Shelly not only for her silence, but for her bags. What once looked like luxury and love was now being clowned in quote tweets. TikToks emerged mocking the rented Birkin saga. Some even joked the whole relationship was a PR stunt built on props. The betrayal hit different this time, because it didn't come from haters. It came from someone who once claimed to support her. And the damage didn't stop there. Screenshots surfaced of Shelly's own fans posting shady comments about Olandria and Nick, using her photos as profile pics while saying things that kept the drama alive. Suddenly, Shelly was being blamed not just for Ace's actions, but for the toxicity of her own followers. People said she was responsible, that her silence empowered them, that she could have corrected the narrative and chose not to, again. But how could Shelly control internet trolls? How much responsibility does a person really have for the people who claim to support them? The line between fan and fandom blurred. And by the time she noticed, it was already too late. Just when it seemed like the dust was finally starting to settle, the numbers started talking. Not opinions. Not podcasts. Just plain Instagram metrics. Here's the short version. Olandria hit 2.3 million followers, and her fanbase, rightfully proud, posted screenshots to celebrate. But before the tweets could finish loading on everyone's timeline, the celebration turned into suspicion. Just days later, her follower count dropped right back down to 2.2 million. And the internet went wild. Y'all couldn't even buy enough bots to keep her at 2.3. One tweet mocked. Another said, that entire rise wasn't organic. The numbers exposed it. To some, it was all harmless speculation. To others, it was a direct insult, meant to question Olandria's credibility and suggest her fanbase was faking her success. Then came the receipts. Follower tracking sites showed unusual spikes, over 12,000 followers in one day. A bizarre leap compared to her usual pattern. But before anyone could get comfortable calling that out, Shelly's numbers were dragged into the fire too. Because while Olandria was losing followers, Shelly was gaining thousands, almost overnight. One day, plus 36,000. Next day, plus 19,000. The day after, plus 8,000. That kind of explosive surge had people pointing the same finger they had pointed at Olandria just days earlier. Bot followers. PR cleanup. Desperate rebrand attempt. It didn't help that this all happened right after she deleted every photo with Ace. Was she trying to start fresh? Or just start over? Suddenly, the drama wasn't about friendships, breakups, or loyalty anymore. It was about follower charts, bar graphs, and who was really winning. People forgot the emotional toll, the silence, the betrayal, and instead asked, who's up right now? Who's flopping? As if Instagram numbers equal integrity. But what these follower wars really revealed was deeper. No one's allowed to simply move on. Not Shelly. Not Olandria. Not Ace. Because every update, every metric, every post is treated like a scoreboard. Like there's always someone losing, and someone else to celebrate when they fall. This entire fallout started with silence. No public fight. No viral betrayal caught in real time. Just silence, and the internet filled in the gaps. From a subtle side-eye on a podcast to unfollowing sprees, from rented Birkin rumors to follower count accusations, this wasn't just a breakup between couples or friends. It was the construction and destruction of entire public narratives. And the craziest part? We still don't know the full story. Because for all the fan theories, timelines and deep dives, the only people who truly know what happened between Shelly, Ace and Orlando, are the ones who actually lived it. But here's what we do know. Friendships don't always end with a bang. Sometimes they expire quietly. Silence can be protection, or complicity, depending on who you're asking. And in the world of influencers turned reality stars, support can vanish just as quickly as it appeared. Everyone demanded statements, explanations, loyalty. But real life is rarely that clean, especially when millions of viewers are watching, documenting, and judging decisions made in private. Maybe Shelly should have spoken out. Maybe Ace used her as a ladder and walked away. Maybe Ola was hurt more deeply than we ever saw on camera. Or maybe they all outgrew each other in different ways, just like the rest of us do. The truth is, these people were thrown into fame overnight, and the internet turned them into symbols of friendship, of love, of betrayal, even of race. And when those symbols didn't act perfectly, they were torn apart. So maybe the real tea isn't just about who said what or who didn't say anything at all. Maybe the real question is, why do we expect strangers to post everything just to prove loyalty? In the end, nobody wins. Not when friendships break. Not when reputations crumble. And definitely not when fandoms go to war like it's a season finale, and the people involved are just plot twists. Let's be honest, half the drama wasn't even caused by Shelly, Orlando, or Ace. It was caused by us. But hey, this isn't the end of the story. Because if there's one thing reality TV teaches us, it's this. Relationships fade, but receipts? They always come back. So go ahead, hit subscribe. Because you already know, we're just getting started.